So we're live. Going live? Maybe live? Now we're live. Yes?
Pretty sure you're live.
Okay. Hey everybody, welcome to the Gathering 208 podcast. Tonight is Ladies Night. That means we kicked the guys to the back side of the camera and they have to run things tonight. I'm joined by Jordan and Kathy. We are the Ladies of G208. We're missing one tonight, Julie. We might see if we can catch her later, but we're just going to go with it today.
Yeah.
So, welcome. We did ask for questions that we could answer during the podcast. We didn't get any, but if you do come up with any ideas while you're looking at our faces, you can put them in the comments, and we'll try to answer them. But in the meantime, how y'all doing?
Good. I'm good. Yeah. It's fun to be on this end.
Yeah. Instead of having to watch.
Yeah.
To know what the guys are looking at each time.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Oh, and it's kind of funny because we're sitting in the same spots our husbands sat in when they did the podcast, all three of them.
Oh, too funny.
So it was Cal and Lonnie.
I remember
and
Lonnie
Josh.
was in the middle.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, so we just replaced them, and we're really a lot cooler than they are.
No, you're totally fine.
So tonight we'll kind of just talk about who we are, why we're here, kind of our roles within Gathering 208. We are the wives of the leaders of the church, and you know what that means.
We got all the dirt.
Yeah, and you know who's really in charge. So yes, let's just kind of do an intro, a little bit about ourselves. We can start with Kathy, then we'll do Jordan.
I'm Kathy Hackett. My husband is Kellen, the multiplication pastor at Gathering 208. The stuff that I kind of do for the church, I will be helping out with guest services. So you'll see me at the door and mingling around with people, things like that. So if you come and you want a familiar face, find mine and I'll help you out. And sometimes I help out with some of the social media, and just, I don't know, anything else that they're like, hey, can you help? And I'm like, sure.
If you ever see a post on Facebook that has a really good caption written, that was Kathy. That's not me. I can make it look pretty,
Erica
but
makes
she
the
comes
really
up with
pretty
the words.
graphics. Yeah. We're a team.
That's my turn.
Yeah.
I'm Jordan Nelson, and Lonnie Nelson is my husband, and he is the worship pastor, or leader, whatever. And I help him by singing when I'm not wrangling the 2-year-old. And, setting up for that kind of thing. But that's all I do right now.
We're getting into it. It's all good. Awesome. Well, I'm Erica. I am Pastor Josh's wife. I do whatever he asks me to do. So mainly I work on the social media, website, all that fun stuff. But yeah, I get to help out with worship. I get to help out with whatever needs done. I get to shop at Hobby Lobby and buy the stuff that looks cute during our services. So yeah, we're kind of getting our feet wet. We just launched our in-person services this past week. At the District Coffee House in downtown Boise. We're kind of doing a soft launch type thing right now. And actually, Kellen and Kathy weren't here yet, so they get to have their first.
I know. We were
in-person.
so bummed that we weren't able to be there for the first night, but we're excited to be there this Sunday. Just get into a location and, be more of a visible presence. Which is cool. We're really excited about that, and just jump on in and do the things that we came here to do. We've been working on things obviously since we've been here, but this is a new exciting little chapter, or I shouldn't say little chapter, big chapter.
Big,
and I'm pretty excited for it. I'm super excited. I can't wait for it.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, like Kathy and Kellen have been here for over a year now. Josh and I, it'll be a year, like in a week and a half on Kathy's birthday.
Yeah.
And Jordan and Lonnie joined us in October, November?
I don't even remember.
Somewhere
I think it was
in
more
there.
like September.
I was going to say, I thought it was
you
soon,
guys jumped in
because
pretty
Kellen
quick,
started working
so.
with you in July.
Because I think we had you over for dinner in like August or something. I feel, yeah.
Very cool, yeah.
like
So
that.
that's almost a year for you guys too. So it's been really cool kind of planting the seeds of G208 and seeing what it's turning into. And obviously with COVID and everything, it's nothing like we had initially planned it.
Yeah, it's a little tricky to like
Nothing is like anyone has
Yeah.
really wanted.
move to a new place where you don't know anybody, and then but you can't go out and actually meet people.
Yeah, stay in your house.
So-
It's fine. It's a really great way to meet people.
It's cool though. I've like really appreciated the blessing that it's turned into, that it's caused us to reevaluate how we do things and what we do, and the whole online presence that we have now that we might not have had as strong anyways, you know. And I think it's a cool new approach to reaching people, you know, whether it's here or anywhere really. You know, it's cool. It's cool that we've got people from all over jumping in. I love it.
Gives you different kind of opportunities than just in person or
Sure. Well, even this podcast probably wouldn't exist without
Yeah.
COVID.
Right.
Because that's how we mark the weeks, is what episode are we on? Because we haven't missed a Wednesday.
Oh my gosh,
since
I
we
haven't even like
started.
noticed that.
That's so funny. Yeah.
So what did we say? This was episode 16?
15.
15 or 16?
So we've been
I'll have to double
15
check.
or 16 weeks of
this 15. All right. So we've been in it. It's been very unique to try to be gathering without gathering. And it's been a really cool opportunity though, because we've gotten to meet a lot of people. Like there's people that are involved with our church that I've never seen face to face, and that is so cool. Like you don't have opportunities like that if you're not forced into them.
right.
So as crazy as COVID has been, it's been a really nice opportunity to kind of push our boundaries a little bit.
Definitely. Yeah. Just like take a look from the outside and see, you know, just get more creative. And I love that because we've got people from 4 or 5 different states jumping in, I think, to join us with things, which I think is awesome.
Yeah.
It's super neat.
Well, it's cool. We get parents in on it. We've had Jordan's mom, we've had Julie's parents, and you know, Josh's parents get to watch and stuff, and that's been really cool. I think it's a really nice thing to be able to connect our families to what we're passionate about and what's exciting to us about this ministry. And kind of gives them a different perspective, I think, when they can watch what we're doing a little bit.
Yeah.
That's why it's nice that we're able to live stream. Well, hopefully we're able to live stream when we start our in-person services and stuff. We can still have people from all over involved. And
Yeah.
So back to COVID. I kind of just want to address for us in these different stages in life how this whole experience has affected us, because we're all moms, but you've got a really little one, we've got kind of older ones, you've got a teenager, and we're all working. So what's that been like for you guys?
You want to go first?
Sure, I'll go first. So it's been crazy. So right before, like, I don't know, 3 days, I think, before I started a new job, we all got we weren't technically in a shelter in place. What was it called? Stay in. Yes,
Stay
something
home,
like that.
yeah.
We got that. And so I not only had to adjust to life, being inside when I'm an extrovert who likes people and likes to be out every single day of my life. So that was really weird. But then I also switched jobs to a completely new path,
Very different.
something that I've never done before, working for an online tech company in customer support. So I started a brand new job, completely out of my element, from my bedroom, with my 3 kids at home, with my husband at home. It was a bit stressful. Very stressful, actually. So, you know, now that we just decided, 15 weeks or whatever, 15 weeks in, we're sort of getting the hang of it, but we're still, our 3 kids, for those of you who don't know, we've got 3 kids. My oldest is 14, Noah, and then my middle, Faith, she's 7, and my youngest, Ariel, is 5. And they're all very full of life. I guess you could say.
That's one way of putting it.
That's the way to put it. Yeah, they get a little crazy, and so they all go stir crazy too. And before we moved out to Boise, we were used to having a yard and things like that. We don't have one now because we live in a townhouse, and for a while, everything around us was closed. So we couldn't go to the playground. We couldn't do anything. So it got a little hairy. But things are better now. They're able to get out and do some things. And one super cool thing that we really appreciated about this whole pandemic thing is, since we didn't have the ability to do anything else, it gave us a ton of family time. And being in this awesome state that is amazing weather and amazing scenery, we decided to go on adventures as much as we could. So we follow this Facebook page, Idaho Beauty, and people post their pictures. So we would Google like how far it was from where we were, and we're like, well, that's not that bad, hour 45 minutes, let's go there today. So we actually it gave us the opportunity to get out and not be bogged down by all of the busyness of life and all of the other priorities with schedules and things like that. So it gave us a lot of really awesome family time and a lot of really cool time to get out in this state and to see how beautiful it is here. Yeah. So it's been a bittersweet thing. Some of it has been really hard, but some of it's been really cool.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
Yeah, with us, when it hit, I work at a eye doctor's office, and so we're considered essential. Mm-hmm. So we didn't have to close or anything, but we did limit our hours, and I went down. I'm only working part-time, but I went down to 1 day a week instead of 2 like normal, and it was only a 6-hour shift. Yeah. So it was a very much smaller. Luckily, Lonnie didn't have to stop working at all. He just worked from home immediately, and I've really liked having him home too, and I think he's like being home to be with Leland when I am home. But I actually didn't mind it. Besides, I was making less money, and that's always comes with hardships. But I didn't mind being home so much, and it was a little bit of an adjustment going back to work more. Sure. Mm-hmm. And now I'm actually working more than I did before, and I'm working 3 days a week. And we are back open, but we keep the doors locked, and we monitor the patients, we wear masks, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So it is different than it was before, for sure. I don't think Leland realized anything was different besides, oh, Daddy's home. Yeah. And that was sometimes a little startling for him in the mornings when he'd come out of the room and he'd get mad that he saw Dad. What are you doing here? But that was really the only thing that I think he realized was different. Other than that, he just, because he can kind of play wherever and with anything because he's 2. Right. But yeah, so it did definitely change a lot, but I didn't really mind it because I really like reading. I got a lot of books read. I had stuff to do. There was times that I got bored, and usually on days, since I don't work every day, I'm usually able to fill the days that I have at home. But there was definitely days I was like, well, I did everything. Now I'm gonna wash this one spoon that I dirtied because I already did the dishes.
I got nothing else to do.
Yeah. So there was definitely some boring times, but I too was thankful for having, Lonnie at home too. While I was at home with Leland as well.
Yeah, that has kind of been the nice thing that, when we're all going such a busy pace and a busy life, that family time is the big thing that gets compromised. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of been nice having this excuse to slow down everything else and just focus on family. Mm-hmm. And we haven't gone out and explored as much, but we have gotten out and about and just really learned to enjoy having our kids around all the time. Homeschooling was a whole other story. Like, that was a nightmare trying to juggle homeschooling and working from home because really similarly to Kathy, I started my job on March 11th, and our official stay-at-home order was March 15th. Yeah. So I really I worked the next week in my office, and then they sent everybody home. So I had about a week and a half in the office at my new job, and then for the last 14 weeks I've been working from home as well. And Josh and I kind of both, were working in this office for a few months, and then he decided he needed a space to do the podcast and stuff that was in our garage. So I'm back in our bedroom, but that's kind of been nice too, because it's a little more removed from everything. I don't have the boy bothering me every 10 seconds. And
there's always a lock on the bedroom door too. That's one of
our bedroom does not lock, and that is an issue. That is an issue.
Our lock is like one of my favorite things in our entire house. Love it.
Oh, I wish. No, so yeah, it's been, but it just, if it's my lunch break, I can go cuddle on the couch with the boys, or we can go for a walk, or whatever we want to do, which has been really, really nice. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird having the whole family at home. That is very different from how our pace of life has ever been. Our dog loves it because he loves attention and he loves everybody. And so when this all is over and we're back working out of the house and the boys are back in school, he's not going to know what to do with himself. Or even, we're going on vacation this next week and he's just going to kind of be hanging out. So we'll see how he handles it. But yeah, I like you, I don't mind staying at home. I love people, but I don't always like people. Yeah. I don't always want to be around them.
I'm like, people. Yeah. Where's the people?
Exactly. And so, yeah, it's been nice to sit at home. I haven't been as productive. I haven't finished a book. I've started several. I've watched entire TV series, though. So you can see where my priorities are. It's like, there's a book about that. Is there a TV show that goes with it? I'll watch that. Yeah. Right. Oh, goodness. So, as far as ministry goes in our lives, we've all kind of had different upbringings and different involvement with the church. And like we addressed what we're working on now, but what is kind of your relationship with religion, Christianity, and how you were raised and where you're at now? Kind of how has that played into your lives?
Yeah. Want me to go first again? Or you want to go?
Sure.
Okay. So I've, growing up in South Dakota, a lot of people go to church, obviously. So we were a family that did. Extended family goes to church, things like that. It was something that I always did, because that's what you do. I've always been a believer. It wasn't ever that I had a time in my life where I was just like, I hate going to church. I don't want to do this. I don't believe this. It was never anything like that. But it was never something that truly like permeated my day-to-day life. Like, I knew the Bible stories, I knew the songs, all of that kind of stuff, but it didn't fully click in my brain until about 15 years ago. Kellen was working with this guy, and Kellen wasn't a believer at the time, but he was working with this guy who talked about Jesus all the time at work, and Kellen was just like, gosh, I wish he would just like shut up about Jesus, right? And so this guy started a Bible study geared towards, early, like newer Christians, non-believers, things like that. And so it was on St. Patrick's Day 2005 that we were going to go out and party. It was St. Patrick's Day. We definitely had been into a phase of life where I definitely strayed pretty good, and we were just like, okay, fine. If we go to this Bible study, this guy will shut up. He won't talk to us about it anymore. We'll appease him, right? And then we'll be good. So that was the night that, like, the Holy Spirit just, like, slapped us across the face. Like, I mean, life has literally never been the same. So Kellen became a Christian. I guess you could say, rededicated myself. And life's never been the same. So we've gone through, in these 15 years, we've gone through a lot of changes. When we first started going to church, we would just go, and we might be the last ones in and the first ones out. We didn't really engage. We didn't, like, the churches that we were going to, they didn't talk a lot about serving and things like that. It wasn't a Wesleyan church. And we just weren't fully engaged. And then we started going to the church that we were at in Sioux Falls for 7 years, and it just really is Wesleyan church, and just really changed our whole thought process on our faith, and really like making your faith like an action, like a verb, not just a personal belief, but like actually doing something with it. And it's just really changed us to have a passion for serving, a passion for discipleship, a passion for missions. All three of those things that we didn't really care about before. We just didn't. And we've had, Jesus like radically changed our life. So it's been cool. People who maybe knew me growing up, because I wasn't always the best influence, and so now they're like, whoa, you're a pastor's wife? And I'm like, yeah. And people who know me now, they're like, whoa, you were like that? And I'm like, yeah, see, Jesus does those things. He like crazy changes things if you let him, but you just gotta let him. So but yeah, that's where I'm at now.
Cool.
It's a good place.
I grew up in a very churched family, I guess. My grandparents on both sides go to church, and when we lived in Alaska, when I was in like elementary school, we'd go to church because my grandparents lived there, and we'd go to church with them. But my parents were always, they tended to like doing Bible studies and church at home, as opposed to going to church. And both of them are raised in the church, and both of their parents go to church. But we had a lot of Bible studies. Sometimes we have 3 or 4 a week. Now, I was young, and there was a lot of kids there because there's a lot of families with kids that would come to the Bible studies, and so we didn't really have to participate the same. We had to be in there for a little bit, but then we could go play because it was too, a little too much, too long for us to just sit quietly.
Right.
But I think that really made an interesting influence in my life, because people would, like when I say, oh yeah, I don't go to church, we do it at our house. And I'm like, what?
Weirdo.
Yeah. Because I was in Christian community. Like when we, I was homeschooled for a while, and then I went to a private Christian school, and I know my friends were always like, what?
Yeah.
You go to a Christian school, you don't go to church? I was like, well, I do. I mean, it's my sister's friend called it the Church of the Living Room God, because we were in the living room. But I mean, my parents were always so spiritually grounded. I mean, like every morning when I'd wake up, my mom was reading her Bible and stuff, and I could just see Jesus and what they would do, and how they still do and act, and I count myself really lucky to have parents that were like that. And of course I've had ups and downs. I've never not been a believer. I've had those times in Vacation Bible School where I know I accepted Jesus like probably 15 times, because did it work last time? I don't know.
I mean, they're doing the thing. Do I need to do it again?
Yeah. So definitely did that in VBS many times. But I might have had times where it's harder, or I'm like not really, like you talk about lukewarm, kind of like, I'm not really doing anything. And then times where it's definitely better, and definitely relationship is growing more. And of course, those are times you always, you want to be in. And I think starting with this church has really helped me, because we were in a church that it didn't do anything for growth in me. It was more just like, this is what you do, it's fine, and then being able to be a part of this community has helped me go, okay, no, it's not just enough to get into the routine, but you got to actually actively be doing, not only trying to further your relationship with Jesus, but then also living out your faith in a tangible way for other people too.
Yeah. Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, I was kind of raised similarly. I mean, my parents both kind of grew up going to church. My mom was Catholic. My dad was kind of Methodist, but my dad really didn't start going to church until I was about 2 or 3, and that's when my family joined the Methodist church, and my dad got really super duper involved in that for most of my childhood. He was a lay leader and a board member and stuff. So that was, kind of how I was raised, going to church all the time, being involved with kids ministry and, youth and stuff like that. But I think similarly, I didn't really, there wasn't a whole lot of action involved with it. It was just, you go to church on Sunday, you do this, and you're saved. And when I was 9, I actually went on a mission trip for the first time to Juarez, Mexico. And that's
You were 9?
When I was 9. And so that, I'm so thankful for that opportunity, because it just kind of taught me at a young age what faith in action looks like. And at that point, I started going to church camps and stuff. And I think at my first church camp is when I accepted Christ and stuff like that. I've got a little note in one of my Bibles from when I was a kid, from when I accepted Christ and stuff like that.
That's really cool, though.
I like it.
Because, when you probably wrote that, you weren't thinking that you'd look at it,
when I'm 32.
when you're grown.
Yeah, exactly.
And what a precious really,
it's really cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and kind of just float through life a little bit like that, just going to church when my parents took me to church. But then in high school I started going to actually the youth group where I met Josh, and there might have been a few reasons I stayed at that youth group. There was a cute boy there who didn't acknowledge my existence for about a year and a half. But so yeah, getting involved in that youth group, and a lot of things about joining the Wesleyan Church were about action. And we went on this youth conference in 2003, a very long time ago. Gosh, who was there? It was Switchfoot was there.
Oh, cool.
That's back when Switchfoot was cool.
I still think Switchfoot's cool.
I think they're awesome. This was right around the time of A Walk to Remember was coming out and stuff like that. So it was a really cool youth conference, and they did this call one of the last nights there, a lot of things do, but it wasn't just a call to follow Christ, it was a call into ministry. And I knew at that point that I was called to be in ministry. I knew I wasn't meant to be a pastor. I've never felt that call. I should knock on wood, because this stuff happens.
You never know.
Staff tag, girl. Bless you. So things do happen, but I knew I was just supposed to minister, and that's what I was supposed to do with my life. And I kind of had a feeling it might be in a wife role, but at that point Josh and I were just friends, and we didn't start dating until a few months after that. And so from that point on, it was just, that was kind of my focus, is where can I plug in, where can I do ministry. So volunteering with worship team and youth group, and that's pretty much just what I've done since then for the last 17 years, is volunteering and doing what I can to further the ministry that I'm involved in. And marrying a pastor is really a kind of easy way
to get in there.
To get into that.
Right?
Yeah. So we've been doing this together for about 16 years now, and
that's cool.
It's been cool. There's obviously ups and downs, and I've even had my crises of faith, even being a pastor's wife. And so it's not always easy.
Yeah. Well, I think we've all gone through our phases of questioning and uncertainty, but and there's nothing wrong with that. Exactly. There's nothing wrong with asking questions and digging in and not knowing what the heck's going on.
Yes.
Jesus can handle it. It's cool.
Exactly. Oh, hey guys.
Oh, hey.
So we're joined by another lady. Julie made it in. She's done with her work call. So yes, here is the group of all of us ladies here at Gathering 208. So Julie, kind of what we've been talking about, we introduced ourselves a bit, but you've been on the podcast.
Yeah.
And so
Julie's season pro.
She's
I know.
So we've kind of introduced ourselves, talked about how COVID has affected us. Obviously you did a whole episode on that, but at this point we're kind of talking about how we were raised and how we have been involved in ministry and what kind of brought us to this point. So if you want to kind of maybe just introduce yourself a little bit. And,
Okay, like
yeah.
all of that?
I mean, just
All of it.
Okay.
whatever you feel.
All right. Hello, I'm Julie.
Hello.
Some of you may have seen me before, so I would love to not talk about COVID for once in my day.
Yeah,
So I'm going to
good.
skip that question.
Reader's Digest, Julie's a nurse.
Yes.
Okay.
And my late coming was due to a COVID-related call for work. So, and then how I was raised.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like in
In
like
the church.
with
In the
really,
church,
really
Oh, I
Yeah.
thought you wanted my parenting style. Okay. Or like my parents. Sure. Yeah, I grew up going to church with my family. It was definitely something that we were very involved in. My parents were very active in our church as far as like volunteering and different ministry things. And so that's something that is was taught to my brother and I from an early on age, as far as like not just attending, but being involved and then also trying to live out some of those types of things outside of the church as well. Does that answer it?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, is that or like am I
No,
supposed to go
you're
deeper
good.
or just
You're
kind
good.
of that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good, man. No, yeah, we were kind of just discussing, different things that have kind of brought us to where we are in our walk now. And I mean, obviously, there'll be other ladies' night podcasts where we'll get kind of deeper into some of the things we've struggled with in our lives and our faith. But this is kind of just like a get to know us type situation because you get to see the guys all the time.
Yeah.
And so,
Exactly. So now you get to see the other
All the
side.
time.
I mean, we're so much cooler than them. Like, they're just jealous. So we don't have any questions from peeps yet, but Josh, Lonnie, do you guys have any ideas or any questions that you have of us at our most vulnerable live on the internet?
You could tell us how it was being ripped away from your homes with your children and moved out here. And then Jordan, I don't know. It wasn't like being thrown in with all of us.
Jordan can talk about how her life was changed so much when she met Elle.
Oh my gosh, so different.
I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I think my kids had the hardest transition.
I really think they did. Is that your boot?
I mean,
My boot collection is like
Can it be cold yet?
they're having a hard time. They're not being worn.
Oh goodness.
as you can tell, Julie doesn't have human children.
Live children.
Love it. Okay. Well, I guess I can start since Josh has this camera angle up right now. Oh, okay. Hi. Whatever works. So yeah, it's been, I've moved a few times. I think Josh, since we've been married, we moved 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
We've lived in as many houses as years we've been married.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh, are you
essentially,
serious?
yeah, we've lived in about 13 houses, not 13 different locations.
Dang.
And we'll have our 13th anniversary next month. So we're no strangers to moving around, but definitely for the majority of our boys' young years, we were in Mitchell, South Dakota. So Liam was born, I just said that really East River.
South Dakota.
South Dakota. So Liam was actually born in North Dakota. Well, we lived up there. We lived there for 3 years. And he was born in Williston. And then Connor was born in Sioux Falls while we lived in Mitchell. So they were both, Liam was 2 when we moved to Mitchell, and Connor obviously lived there till he was like 5. So for them, Mitchell's home, and they still even talk about it now. Like, I miss Mitchell. I miss my friends. So that's been the hardest transition for them. We did live in Sioux Falls for a year after leaving Mitchell, but they really didn't have the time or the
grow too big roots there.
capacity to grow roots there. And in Mitchell, we had a great group of friends, and we were all very close. And like Liam's best friend was my neighbor's grandson, so it was just kind of one of those places. It was just home. It was a cozy hug. So moving out here has definitely been
Cozy hug. I like that.
it's been hard on them, but they are just they're so adaptable. That made you uncomfortable. You don't like that.
I know. Yeah. Me, I'm like more hugs. I know.
No, stop it. So yeah, for our boys, they are adaptable. You know, they've grown up in the church, being passed around amongst all the wonderful women and some guys that, you know, have just kind of really invested in us and loved us in all the areas we've been in. And they have that here too. So I think that's what's been a lot easier for them, is having friends built in. Like, we get to spend a lot of time with the Hackett's, and they also get along ridiculously well with adults. Like, they're just very good at conversing. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but that's just part of life right now. And so they've done really well. For me, this is the farthest I've lived from my parents. Maybe. We lived in Indiana for a couple years, but obviously with kids and stuff, it's a lot harder to be away from grandparents and siblings and all the cousins and stuff. So that's been rough. But even right now, our boys are with Josh's parents. They just spent like a week with my parents. So we're making it work.
Right.
It's been all right.
Cool. Well, so for us, I lived 36 years of my life in South Dakota. I had only lived in a couple of different locations. We had lived on the southwest side of Sioux Falls for 11 years. Brought all of our kids home to that house, and then we decided to move in Sioux Falls, and we moved across the city, which brought us into different school districts, all that kind of stuff. And it was exciting. We got this, like, God just totally answered our prayers with the location and the home and the purpose of what we wanted the home for. It totally was answered, and it was a really cool answer to prayer, but it was a really short answer to prayer. We moved across the city and lived there for 9 months before we moved out to Idaho. So when we moved across the city, we had no idea this was going to be happening. We found out, I think, like a month and a half after we moved, that so we're going to go to Idaho. And we were like, what? Why did we just move across the city for no reason, you know? But honestly, I really think it was just like preparation, just to like show our kids and show us too, like, you know, you can move out of your comfort zone. It's okay, you know? We had always kind of talked about, like, you know, being brave and bold in your faith and doing something about it, and God didn't make us for safety and complacency and comfort. Like, he's here, like, we're here to do more than that, you know? Yeah. So it was time to, you know, follow through.
Launch out of the nest.
And so we were really nervous about moving our kids, especially away from all of our family. We've got amazing family, we've got amazing friends. Like, we had very deep roots there. So it was hard, and it was scary to move, but it's actually been a huge blessing for our kids, especially Noah and Faith. They both struggled in the area of good friendships. Noah, he had a couple of years of some pretty bad bullying, and so we're just like, dang, if we move and it gets even worse, like, what are we gonna do, you know? He loves it here. He loves his friends. He's been involved in different activities that he never would have done in Sioux Falls. He really, really is happy here, and it's been such a huge blessing. Faith, even though she seems like she's like an extrovert to the extreme, she gets really anxious when she meets new people. And she really, really had a hard time in kindergarten last year making friends. Like, it was probably 2 or 3 months before she said she even played with friends at recess, because she would just play by herself on the monkey bars. The very first day of school here, she was like, Mom, I have a BFF. Can I get a BFF bracelet? And I was like, oh my gosh, she has a best friend. Like, first day, this is so cool. And then Ariel, she was a huge introvert before we moved here. She didn't like it when people would look at her. She didn't like it it when people would talk to
Believe
her.
that. I do not believe
Totally
it.
was. It was so much like people would be like, "Hi, little girl, I like your dress," and she'd go, "Why are you looking at me?" Like she was just this little introvert grump. And then something switched in her when we moved here, and now she literally talks to everybody.
Yeah.
She tells everybody when her
filter.
birthday is. She tells everybody where her birthday party is going to be. She tells everybody where our house is, and she points it out, like so much so where we're like, "You got to tone it down.
Scary. Yeah.
You can't be telling people that." So yeah, I mean, as far as that, it's been, it's hard for our kids just because they aren't around. Like they used to spend a lot of time with their grandparents, and it was nice for us to be like, can we send it to the grandparents?
Yeah.
We don't have that, and so that's really difficult. But other than that, we've just really I don't know, just kind of come into our element, I guess, living out here. We are, Pacific Northwest people, and we love it here. It's good.
Awesome.
It's been super good. So
Very
I think that was the question. I sort of forgot what the question was.
No, you're good. Like, how did we adapt to moving here?
Oh
and
yeah,
stuff?
yeah.
So yeah,
So overall, it went really well.
we do have a question here from Celine.
Oh, hey.
And she says, "How do you balance different roles within a church plant?" So I guess I can kind of talk to you start. What's really nice about this group of people is we all just have our own set of natural giftings, which kind of just helps us all fall into place where we've ended up now. Like Julie is very organized and administrative, and bossy, so she's really good at helping us with all of that stuff.
That's what it really is.
Yes. She takes the lead and keeps us on track.
But we love her, so we
And
let her
love
boss
her.
us.
Yeah.
I don't know how I get away with it as much as I do.
I love it.
It's fine.
And yeah, like Jordan's got this amazing musical gift. She's a beautiful singer, and she and Lonnie are a great team, so that's been really cool. And we can't wait to work you into things more. Once, it's hard with little kids. Ministry is hard with little kids.
Yeah.
And you are full in that stage of life right now, and we've all been we've been there, so we totally get it.
And
but
Leland is an extroverted baby. Normally goes to anybody. Doesn't matter.
He loves mowing.
Yes, that's it.
And that's really sweet, though. Like, we enjoy it.
We're getting to be friends.
Yeah, we tried.
I'm not, but I just like looking at him.
I know, it's so sweet.
We tried leaving him one time here when we were doing making the food stuff, and he screamed the whole time. And he tried to put his coat on and leave.
I'm done. I want mom. I'm over it.
I'm out.
And yeah, Kathy's, been in ministry. You've done different areas along with Kellen, but your giftedness is really kind of words. Like, you're great at coming up with things like that, and you're really great at welcoming new people into our atmospheres, and that's just really nice. You are like, looking at you is a warm hug.
Aww.
And so I love it.
Makes you uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I don't give that warm hug vibe.
I'll just
fine. I do that on purpose.
I won't touch you and give you the warm hug. I'll just look at you and give you the warm hug.
Present.
I mean, I've gotten better. Yeah, there's that. Yeah.
All right. Celine is also asking, what do we think about the representation of women within the church?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yes, I love it. Gosh, why do I have to go back to Hamilton? One of the things I like, what the line I like the best about Hamilton is immigrants, we get stuff done. Women, we get stuff done. Mm-hmm. And so Josh, he is really great at what he does with leading and speaking and teaching, and that's great. But organized is not necessarily a spiritual gift. So, we are really able to kind of work within that and, kind of keep things rolling on the back end. But another really cool thing is just, we mainly have support roles right now, but that doesn't have to be how it remains. We're all kind of getting into discipleship relationships and different areas as that's kind of presented itself, which has been a really cool blessing, is just building up really beautiful relationships one-on-one with people. I don't know, what do you guys think?
So I've kind of I don't know how to exactly form this into my answer, but before like we joined the Wesleyan denomination, there was a very different viewpoint of women in church, or I shouldn't say in church, but women in leadership in church, and I fell into that role. That was also where I was at a point in my life where I wasn't reading my Bible and I wasn't checking out to see what Scripture said about it. And the more we learn as we've been in the Wesleyan denomination, and the more I actually read my Bible, I learned that women in leadership are all over the Bible.
Yeah.
They're everywhere, and that has been super cool because I think, coming into this position, this church, right now we're really small. So, we all kind of have to be leaders in a way, because there's not a lot of us, so, which has been cool because I think before, I would have maybe shied away and thought I shouldn't, maybe be, I don't know if assertive is the right word, but I should back down a little bit, but it's been cool. It's been empowering to follow what Scripture says and back that up and know that it's okay to, be a leader in the church.
Yeah, it's interesting because, it definitely does depend on the denomination you might have been familiar with, because I know we had a lot of Nazarene background, which is also a Wesleyan denomination. I didn't even know Wesleyan was a denomination. You guys. But I did go to a Nazarene college and everything. But my dad's family goes to a Quaker church, a Friends church. I've had people ask me if that's like Amish people. It's like, no. But Quakers have always had, or at least for a very long time, have had women pastors. That's awesome. And even if you've seen the old movie Friendly Persuasion, it's about a family of Quakers, and the wife is the pastor of the church, and it's set in like the 1800s or whatever.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So it's interesting. I never thought of it like, oh, women can't be leaders, because even the church that we've been at had a woman pastor, and it was a different denomination, but I guess I never thought of it in that way. But I also never felt called necessarily to leadership in church, and I think that makes a difference too, because it wasn't at the forefront of my mind. Oh, they usually are guys for pastor, anything like that, or in roles, or should that be that way or shouldn't it? I just wasn't thinking in that way. But that's what always comes to my mind, is like, in Friendly Persuasion, it was a woman pastor.
That's awesome.
And that was a long time ago.
That's cool. I've never even heard of that movie.
No, I haven't either.
Sounds up your alley.
Maybe. 1800s. I guess for me, growing up, I never had a female pastor, I don't think. And so having that kind of experience once I started going to the Wesleyan church, I had, maybe it kind of started out as this pastor's wife is also a pastor, and she helps out, but it's been really cool seeing so many women, even in our district, the women that I've grown to look up to, kind of taking initiative and stepping out and becoming ordained. It's really, really cool to see. I've never particularly felt the need to become an ordained minister or anything like that. Again, I should knock on wood. But I just think it's really cool in this stage of our church plant, especially, to start off with this precedent of having women in leadership. And it's not just because we're wives or anything of the guys.
Right.
We've got really strong women leaders all around, and I think it's cool to kind of see how our different roles will be shaped as we continue to grow, and as we all kind of get our feet wet, because even right now, I'm super introverted, but I'm talking on a podcast right now.
And you're doing a really good job.
Thanks. So I think, as the church evolves, obviously we're going to evolve, and we're all going into new stages of life. When I was a young mom in my earlier 20s, I just was like, I'm focused on raising my kids, and I'll volunteer where I need to, and then I'm done. And now, I'm kind of like, okay, now that my kids are a little older, I'm kind of feeling out where where I belong within that, and it's really nice to have the space to explore that. I've never really felt in the Wesleyan denomination that women aren't welcome in ministry, because that's been something that's been really strong in our tradition for a long time. So I think that's been...
And we don't have just like timid, meek women in leadership. We've got like powerhouses.
We got Joanne Lyon, and like she's talked to the president. So I mean, several presidents, but yeah,
it's cool. We've got some good ladies to look up to, for sure.
Absolutely.
Have you seen that representation of women even in Wesleyan Church evolve over your guys' lifetime, or have you felt tension out, maybe if it wasn't so much in your home church environment, but have you felt those tensions of women in leadership and women in ministry outside of your home churches?
I can speak to that a little bit. I haven't been part of the Wesleyan Church my whole life. I grew up going to a Lutheran church, which also has women pastors, so that wasn't something that was like foreign to me. And then there was a while that I went to another denomination in college, and they do not have women in leadership roles in the church. And then I remember going to the Wesleyan denomination at the Ransom Church in Sioux Falls, and then that's when I kind of started learning about like women in leadership or women in ministry being not common, I guess. I didn't even realize that when I was at the other church that it was something that was not allowed necessarily. And so I've seen some of that tension then. And I know Kathy and I had some conversations about that before I moved out too, just questions and things that I've had, things that I've learned at other places or that have been shown to me. And that was something that I just because I've been part of a couple of different denominations with that, I didn't think about it. Then it started becoming something that I think I really was looking into more. And, but I definitely think that, God uses women, and he equips us for things in different leadership roles. And, you see that throughout the Bible, see that throughout, as you talk about current leaders that we have out of our team. So yeah, I think it's exciting, and I think that we do some good stuff.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
It's good and exciting stuff. And before I started going to the Ransom Church in the Wesleyan denomination, I'd been to a couple of other I was kind of a mutt growing up, because in a small town you've got you go to this church and then, things don't go well here. So then you go across town to the other church and they're both different. And then you go to your grandparents' church for their BBS, and you go to this friend's Bible camp, so I kind of was a bit of a mutt, and none of them had, the only type of leader that the woman was in a church was they played music during the service and they taught Sunday school or they taught VBS. That was it. Nothing more than that. And it just wasn't, you just didn't do it. And so, I'm forgetting where I wanted to go.
Tension.
What?
Tension.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So, thank you.
Back on track.
Looking at what Scripture says and seeing that there's been these strong, purposeful leaders in the church from the beginning. Especially like when Scripture was recorded, it was very abnormal for a woman to be recorded, and so if that woman was recorded, it was purposeful, and it was there was a strong meaning for that. And looking at how it's all over Scripture, I don't know how people can deny it. And it honestly, really, it breaks my heart when I see other very strong Christian women who just won't allow that for themselves to step forward and stand out and be a strong leader because they think it's not biblical. And it just breaks my heart because I feel like it's such, it just, it's a form of oppression for them, and it's not letting them step into the true purpose of what God has them here for, and it just breaks my heart. But
yeah, it is heartbreaking to see women who have so much to offer who are just completely run down by different, whether it's leaders of the church or just people in general who don't think it's a woman's place to be above a man. And even being in the Wesleyan Church, I've heard that more often than one would hope. At some of the more traditional places, that it's not a woman's place to speak before men. It's not a woman's place to read scripture from the stage. And those are just things where I just think, wow, really? Like, have you read the Bible? I mean, obviously the women in biblical times weren't leading from the front, but they were still equipped and still following the leading of the Lord. And it's just, ever since I have been in the Wesleyan Church, since I was in youth group, going to youth camps and stuff, there were so many strong women that I just looked up to so much. And most of them were pastors' wives, but so many of them now have worked into these leadership roles or just are very strong presences in their communities. And they advocate for those people that need it. And that's just something that I've always been passionate about too, is just finding a place where I can minister to those people who are not always the ones that are the primary focus of what we do, like on a Sunday. We want to reach out to mothers, like single mothers, young mothers, different things like that. I know a lot of us have a passion for that, and reaching out to people who just need a little help, a little more love, people who maybe necessarily aren't always shown love by churches and by Christians in general. Those are the people I have a heart for the most, because they're the ones that need to see the love of God more than anybody, because they've constantly been told in their lives that that's not something they're deserving of, and obviously we know that that's not true.
Or they've done something so terrible that they're not. They can't have that love anymore.
The ones that are disowned from their families or their church or whatever. God loves them. We love them so much, and I just think that is a really cool opportunity to kind of look into. And man, we're almost at time already, guys.
Really?
Flew.
Dang.
We have 4 minutes left, but yeah.
Gosh, you knew what that meant.
I know, right? We're starting to read each other.
13 years.
Yeah. I know. It's been a long journey.
Do we want to talk about what's upcoming with podcast stuff, or are there any other questions? Or here I am being bossy.
I love it. That's why we have you, and you're awesome.
Keep us on track.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't think we have any other questions.
No questions on here.
Any last minute chances for any questions right now?
I mean, I see some of y'all. Hi, I love you all. Thanks for watching. That's one of the cool things about the podcast, when I can see who's been watching, and it's people from all the different places I've been in my life. Like people from Indiana, North Dakota, South Dakota, here, and I love it so much. It's been so cool.
Yeah, it is cool.
So upcoming on the podcast, what do we got for next week, Josh?
I know what it is.
You do?
Yeah.
Oh
yeah, it's the Julie and Kellen episode.
Looking forward. Why do you think I brought it up?
Complete chaos.
I've been
Dylan like a felon. Oh my gosh.
I've been warned I've made a big mistake.
Yeah. We will not be taking questions. We're just going to do whatever we want.
We've been told that there might be Chipotle involved. That's what we do on Wednesdays.
Yeah. Normally we scarf it down before. We're just going to enjoy some chips and guac with everyone. You get to watch us eat it.
So grab yourself some Tex-Mex or Mexi-Mex or Cali-Mex and enjoy the podcast next week.
Yeah,
awesome. So Josh and I are out of town next week, so y'all are left to your own devices. Good luck.
It's gonna be good. Do we know how to work the equipment?
That is gonna have to happen.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
All right, so I'll get some stuff
We're
scheduled
fully
so we can
anticipating
get that.
a FaceTime call next Wednesday while we're on vacation.
You know,
That's fine.
I think if we're going rogue, we'll probably just pop up a laptop and go live and see what happens.
It'll be fine.
There's not going to be fancy lighting. Probably
This
not a
setup is
microphone
something.
unless it's off.
They'll just sit in our
We're going to
front
take you
yard
for a hike. You know.
and do what you gotta do, guys.
So yeah, I mean, if you would like to ask us something, we will consider it. But I think we're just going to shoot from the hip.
I love it.
Yeah.
Guys, this has been so cool. I love having you all here.
This has been fun.
Hey, if you all miss out on asking us questions tonight, we might make this more of a regular thing. So, feel free to comment anywhere on any of our socials, and I'll find it.
Request the ladies, and
Yes.
it'll happen.
Request the ladies. If you need anything from us, or if you have any ideas for topics, or honestly, if you know anybody who's in those demographics that needs our help, just email us hello@gathering208.com. That's what we're here for. We're here to love people and show God's love, and you guys are awesome.
This has been fun.
Yeah, thanks, guys. All right. Bye.
Are we out?
I think we're out, Josh.